All right, welcome to another edition of the FantasyFix.com podcast. I'm your host, Brett Talley. Can't even say my own damn name. Here to talk daily fantasy strategy for June 30th, 2014 on Draft Street. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at @TheRealTal. Don't forget to sign up for Draft Street through the Fantasy Fix, through the post I will have, through the link I will have in this post for this podcast on the site to get your 100% deposit bonus. All right, weather today, not anything I'm too worried about. Angels at White Sox. There is a 40% chance of rain at game time. It looks like the chance of rain will strengthen throughout the night, so that's a little concerning. It looks like there's going to be strong storms in the area. So, who knows at this point? I'm recording this at 2 in the morning, Monday morning, so who knows. But I don't really like anybody in that game anyway. I'm not a big fan of either of the pitchers at the prices they're at. I could see the Angels against Noesi, but the four-man stack I would use with their first four guys is going to cost like $35,000, so that's not really good enough value for me. I'll probably be avoiding them. Wind's blowing out in Baltimore. Joe Saunders is pitching there. We'll talk a little bit more about him in a minute, but that could potentially be good for the Orioles. Won't be going with the Rangers against Ubaldo. Wind is blowing out Tampa Bay at New York, but I don't really care for either of those teams. Wind is blowing in Detroit pretty heavily for Oakland and Detroit, like both of those offenses, but wind is, because the offenses are so good, the wind isn't going to be enough to make me consider them. But good pitchers going there, I think, so I don't know that I'm going to be going with either offense. Yeah, Sanchez and Kazmir. Won't be using either offense, and still probably too afraid to use each pitcher, though, against those pitchers. Cubs at Boston. Wind is blowing out. Probably won't be using the Red Sox against Arrieta. Won't be using Arrieta either, though, just because he's the most expensive pitcher of the day, which is crazy. Jake Arrieta is the most expensive pitcher on any given day, and it's not like there's 4 games today. I mean, Jordan Zimmerman's pitching, Corey Kluber's pitching, Sanchez is pitching, Kazmir's pitching, Heron, Latos, Wheeler. I can't believe Arrieta's the most expensive pitcher. I know he's been pitching great, and I've always liked him, but it's insane. So I won't be using the Red Sox or Arrieta. I could see using Peavy. I won't be using the Cubs lineup. Could maybe see Peavy at a value play at a cost of just $9,300 when blowing out. I guess would make that a little bit riskier, but whatever. If you're going with Peavy at $9,300, it's already a risk. And that's pretty much it as far as weather goes. All right, stacks I considered today. Took a look at the Orioles against Joe Saunders. Took a look at the Indians against, who are they facing today? Dan Heron. Indians, one of the best teams in the league against right-handed pitching. Took a look at the Royals against, who are they facing today? Johan Pino. Royals lineup's been bad, but they haven't been as bad against right-handers like Pino, so took a look at them. Took a look at the Angels, like I mentioned, and then I took a look at the Nationals, who are facing Johan Flande. That's right, we've got 2 guys named Johan going today. The Nationals they're tied for the 3rd best team against left-handed pitching. Flande is a lefty. He just made his Major League debut last week, I think, at the age of 28. He hasn't done really anything in the minors on his way up to make me think he's going to be great, so I think this is a nice matchup for the Nationals. Do the Seamer projections for everybody, compare them to cost, and the best value of the day looks like the Royals, but the Nationals are pretty close behind, and I think I prefer the Nationals just because they've been 11% better than average against lefties, while the Royals have still been 7% worse than average against righties. So for the Nationals, give me Jason Worth, Ryan Zimmerman, Ian Desmond, Wilson Ramos. I'm leaving Anthony Rendon out of this because he costs over $8,000. I don't like the value there. I'm leaving out Harper, who should be back if he's in the lineup, and also LaRoche because they're lefties. So Worth, Zimmerman, Desmond, Ramos, the stack I probably like the most. If you wanted to go even cheaper, you could replace Worth with Danny Espinosa and go with the bottom half of the order, Zimmerman, Desmond, Ramos, Espinosa. If I was going to spend a little bit more money, I think I would probably go... The Angels are too much. I would go with the Indians or the Orioles. We'll talk about Joe Saunders in a second, but I guess what I'm getting at is I'm going to probably be taking a shot on Joe Saunders at his ridiculously low price. So I guess I like the Indians a little bit more. 3, 4, 5, 6 against righties for them lately has been Brantley, Santana, Kipnis, and Chisenhall, and that's probably where I'd go. If I was going to go the Orioles, I'd go with Steve Pearce, Adam Jones, Nelson Cruz, and J.J. Hardy. All right, let's talk starting pitching today. We've got a big dividing line in cost. We've got 6 guys that are less than $10,000, and then 11 of the 21 guys you can choose from are over $16,000. So big gaps in the cost today. Among the cheap guys, I mean, my God, Joe Saunders at $3,600 roughly is just insanely low value. I mean, when I run the steamer projections based on the Draft Street scoring system, Saunders is projected to score 3.6 points per start the rest of the way. Today he cost 3.6, 3,600. I mean, he's essentially... Actually, he's projected to do 3.85 the rest of the way. I dinged him a little because the Orioles are a little bit better than average against lefties. So I gave him a 3.6 projection for the day, 3.6 point projection. And if he does that, I mean, he's going to be worth a point for every $1,000 you spend, which $100,000 budget, if you could spend all $100,000 and score 100 points for every, a point for every 1,000, you'd obviously take that. And Saunders has upside beyond that. I mean, anything over 3.6 is all gravy. This is obviously not you're not playing this in cash games, but in a GPP where you're trying to hit it big, a lot of times I'll go with 2 high-priced starters and a closer in those lineups, and today you can go with 2 high-priced starters and Joe Saunders. Saunders is actually cheaper than Aroldis Chapman, and Saunders is going to pitch. So it's a gamble, but it's a gamble I'm taking today. If you're not willing to go that cheap and take that big of a risk, I do like the other pitcher in that game, Ubaldo Jimenez, pitching against the Rangers, who have been 15% worse than average against righties. Ubaldo costs a little bit less than $9,000. I think he's a nice play there too. Mid-priced option, I really like Zach Wheeler at about $12,500. He's struggled. He's killed me a lot. Every time I run him out there, he's killed me. But Braves, well below average against right-handed pitching. I think Wheeler is a nice value at 12.5, basically. Expensive options give me Matt Latos at about $17,000 against the Padres and Petco. Padres' worst team in the league against righties. It's in Petco. I am worried about Latos. His velocity has been down about 2 miles an hour this year. He's managed to get it done despite not striking anybody out without the velocity this year. So that does worry me, but, I mean, Padres, Petco, he doesn't need his best fastball to beat this team. So it worries me a little, but I don't see anybody else, that's priced expensively that I love. If you were worried about Latos, I guess the next guy I'd go with Alex Wood. The Mets have actually been average against left-handed pitching, but I just think Wood is really good. The value's not necessarily there today, but I think he's going to be one of the 5 best starters of the day, and he'll cost you about $18,500. So good luck to everybody tomorrow. I will be back. Well, not tomorrow. It is today. Good luck today on Monday. I will be back on Tuesday with another podcast.